ESPN's Marc Kestecher with Armen Levack, 104.5 The Team. You're home for New York sports. Kesty was in Cleveland, inside the arena last night where the Golden State Warriors won the NBA championship. And Kesty, I'm going to hit you with a tough one right off the top. 10 years from now, how will we look back and remember this finals, this series?
Well, I think the first thing I'll remember, and we'll see what the Golden State Warriors do over the next 10 years, but I think just, how the style of play in the NBA has changed. A wide-open game, smaller lineup, three-point shooters. That's the first thing I'll think of. And then I'll also think of part two for LeBron James, how, he set the bar low coming over here with not so much talent, and despite injury, actually got them 2 wins, one more than I thought he would get in this finals, and basically almost willed them to another victory, but just didn't have enough talent.
How sad is it that is the main narrative of this finals? Not, Golden State won their first one in 40 years. It's, LeBron couldn't win his third.
Well, we are very LeBron-centric these days, and, he's going to go down when it's all said and done as one of the best players, this game has ever seen. His numbers are just through the roof. His, coming in at age 18 under all the hype and answering all the questions. I just think so often, we revolve around what he does. But I think I will probably just remember. I don't remember a time when three-point shooting was at such a premium, when the tallest guy on the floor was 6'7", and you could get away with that. And, things are changing. Things are changing in the last 5 years and how we see coaches coach and X and O this game. And so maybe it's a watershed moment. Not sure. We'll see what happens moving forward. But I probably personally will take away the Warriors narrative just ahead of LeBron.
ESPN Radio's Marc Kestecher and Gilderland's own as well, with Armen Levack on 104.5 The Team. You're home for New York sports. Kesty still in Cleveland. Later this evening, we'll take a flight back to Bristol. So, Kesty, MVP, Andre Iguodala, was that the right call?
That was my call. I had no problem with it. I know we've had good-spirited debates on what LeBron had done and if anybody was more valuable than he. But I think in the end, I'm always going to side with the guy who won, unless there's an extraordinary circumstance. And I was alive, but I wasn't old enough to remember when Jerry West was MVP of '69 for the Lakers in a losing effort against Boston. So for me, once it became apparent Golden State was going to win, then I was between Iguodala and Curry, and I really thought Curry needed a big performance. I thought if he had a huge fourth quarter, it was his. He didn't. He still was as deserving as anybody. But I just thought Iguodala on both ends, offense and defense. And I remember Steve Kerr telling us when they were down 2-1, he said, Andre Iguodala right now is my best player. I need somebody to match what he's doing. He was upset. I remember in between games 3 and 4, Steve Kerr was spitting bullets, and he was not happy. And he wanted his guys to answer, how Cleveland was playing so physically. He wanted his guys not to be so soft, if you will, and answer back. And they did. And some of that was with a small lineup. Most of that was with a small lineup. And Iguodala was a consistent force, so I had no problem with it.
Was with the way Adam Silver worded it, he started to go, this for a guy who wasn't even. I was sitting there in my room going, he's going to give it to LeBron. Were there still people in Cleveland in there saying, "Oh my goodness, LeBron's going to get the MVP," or did everybody just leave? It was a weird feeling last night. You had the fans who were really upset who just left with like 5 minutes to go. Most stayed, and I think there was I don't want to call it a morbid curiosity, maybe just a curiosity. And another third left when Iguodala got the MVP, and then the last third of Cavs fans, I think, just wanted to hang out one last time. And half of those third, I'm not even doing the math here, I'm just going Yogi Berra on you. All right, nice.
Half of those third were either A, we'll do it next year, or B, I'm not sure if there is next year because we never do this. I had one lady tell me she's 35 and this is just the way it is. We're always going to lose. And that's part of the mentality here.
That's interesting because in Cleveland, they haven't won a title as a city since the 60s, and it felt like they were that close. I mean, optimism will eventually prevail, right? Because isn't there a vibe, Kessie, that LeBron is going to be back next year and hopefully with healthy guys around them?
I would think so. I mean, healthy and even better. And John Barry, my studio guy, we only touched it at the very end of our post-game show, but they've got LeBron on a player option. He'll be back. They've got Kevin Love on a player option, and that's the big wild card. Do they bring back Kevin Love? Does he want to come back? Are you better off now with the emergence of Tristan Thompson, at least as a rebounder, willing to take whatever max money they give to Love and maybe get two guys or maybe get three guys? So it is a very interesting summer for David Griffin here to see what kind of talent he's going to wrap around LeBron James. And even if it is Love and Irving, just year two, you would think automatically this, to me, was kind of the gravy. I mean, even though Las Vegas anointed them as the odds-on favorites to win the championship and certainly to get to the finals, I wasn't sure they would. And in fact, if Chicago stayed healthy in round two, I think the Bulls might have knocked them off. So I think they were a year ahead of schedule. They've got a lot of moves to make. I'm even wondering if the coach is coming back. I mean, that would be odd, wouldn't it, for a guy to win a conference championship in his first year? But all that is on the table in my mind as we open the new league business starting July 1st.
I guess that is the next question, Kesty. Is Blatt out? Like, you get that feeling that people are just pointing the finger at him why it didn't get done, not the injuries.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think you have to, give him some slack considering what he was left with. I think you could argue that maybe he didn't get creative enough with what was left, just all the isolation basketball. And then when he did decide to try something like going small, he didn't mix things around. He just went small, and that was it. That was, in the loss in Oakland in Game 5. So, I mean, it's easy to second guess. That is tough. I mean, just ask Eric Spoelstra the first year he was in Miami. It's a circus here. Whenever you have LeBron James, it's a traveling circus. And James is, he's different than he was that first year in Miami. He's been to the finals now 5 straight times. He's won 2 championships. He's 30 years of age, and he had a first-year coach. And at times it seemed like, he was doing his thing. Whenever his coach drew up, he could even make that change. So you also get the feeling that if he wanted another coach, he could get it done. But that's, that's just another narrative. Don't know if that's actually true, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if I would think a guy deserves to come back off, taking the best team in basketball to 6 games and losing a championship.
Sure, and you mentioned the team will be better next year. He'll be better as he knows his guys as well if he got that second opportunity. ESPN's Marc Kestecher with Armen and Levack, 104.5 The Team. He had a late night last night. You heard him right here on 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio, with the coverage of the NBA Finals. And Kesty, the management of Timothy Mozgov and the minutes that he got last night and in Game 4 and the minutes that he didn't get in Game 5 has been a huge storyline. As you assess it yourself, along with John Barry and Tirico last night, what was the feeling on how Timothy Mozgov was managed, specifically late in this series, by David Blatt?
I don't think there was a problem. I think, obviously, going back to Mozgov was big. And if you look at that first half, they left a lot of points out there. And, in fact, they gave up a lot of points as they were leaving them. Mozgov obviously has a size advantage. He's got some skills at 7'1". His hands are horrific. I mean, there are so many times where he would get the ball near the rim and just could not hang on to it, kicked it around, turned it over, and those were transition points for Golden State. But I think if you ask many observers here who watched Game 5 in Oakland when they went small and Mozgov sat on the bench, the bottom line is Cavs had a 1-point lead with 7 minutes to go. I mean, they were matching Golden State small lineup for small lineup, and then Curry did what Curry does and, hit those crazy threes. Momentum shifted, and the Cavs they ran out of gas every fourth quarter in the series. I thought LeBron was, measuring himself for much of Game 6 last night with an eye toward having as much in the tank as possible in the fourth quarter. And seeing it here live, he had no lift on his shot in the fourth. He settled for jumpers later in the fourth. He just exhausted everything he had. For the best player on the planet, and he is, and for as conditioned as these guys are, the best athletes in the world, maybe you can argue soccer players there as well, he didn't have it in any of these fourth quarters, and who could blame him playing 45 to 47 minutes a game?
All right, now that this nonsense is out of the way, it's time to prepare for the real thing, the NBA draft, right, Kesty?
That's right. Oh, man, when is that? I got a week from tomorrow?
Yeah. You'll hear Cassie's voice right here on 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio, doing the NBA draft. A lot of storylines in that one, Cassie. Like, what are our Knicks going to do, man? You know, I mean, a lot of stuff to study up on between now and then.
I know. You know what? I did 2 Kentucky games last year, and sometimes you get a little too close to the teams you do. Now, again, I did a lot of Duke as well. I don't think the T-Wolves and the Lakers will lose no matter who they take, but I became such a Karl Towns fan after watching him play late season in Kentucky that I have been saying since March, before the tournament began, that I would take Karl Towns number 1 if I'm the Minnesota Timberwolves. And if they get Jahlil Okafor, they're going to get a real good player, real good, maybe one of the best post-up players we've seen in a long time come out of college. But I just think Towns, at his size, his ability to shoot, his defense, even on the perimeter, I'm not going to call him Anthony Davis, but he can defend out there. That's my guy. I like Karl Anthony Towns. I've been hearing about this guy since 7th grade in New Jersey, so I've been waiting for him to come along. I think whoever gets him will be pretty good, and I don't know who the Knicks are going to take. I mean, are they going to get Moutier, the kid who went to China, the big point guard?
Right, or Russell, Yep.
Yeah, or D'Angelo Russell if he's there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows? They're going to, they'll be left with a lot of talent, but unfortunately, that's just the story of the Knicks, isn't it? To have one of your worst seasons in history, have your fan base sit through that, and then have a disaster at the draft lottery as they did.
Oh, and as Knicks fans, they're having to sit back, and Phil Jackson is sitting back watching the coach that got away and Steve Kerr celebrate last night. I mean, the bottom line is, and we've talked to Marc Berman of the New York Post about this multiple times, Phil Jackson and the Knicks lowballed Steve Kerr. If they would have given him the money that he wanted, he'd be with the Knicks right now, and he would not have been winning that title last night. So obviously, he made a great life decision. And then beyond that, J.R. Smith and Amon Shumpert, although J.R. Smith is still a knucklehead, you saw some potential from those guys getting this team to the finals. It was a tough finals to watch for Knicks fans, Kessie. It really was.
I know. I mean, look, JR ended up being JR in the end, but you're right. I was here in Cleveland a bunch in the regular season, and they loved him. LeBron loved him. David Blatt loved him. I mean, he did everything right. You didn't really see his first wrong move until he hit Jay Crowder at the end of the Celtics series, and that changed everything as well because he ended up coming off the bench the rest of the way, and it moved him on Shumpert in, and Shumpert was big in the Chicago series and even a little bit in the Atlanta series. But it was a tough finals to watch as Knicks fans. I'm sure those of us who follow the Knicks were numb to it by this time of the season. And, I mean, I often think about that, how close really was Steve Kerr to it, because to have the options of the Knicks or the Warriors. And look, when you're handed a team with talent like Golden State, sometimes that's hard too, because Mark Jackson did a real nice job in 2 straight years getting them to the playoffs. Now, it's Golden State, and left coast, you're not going to get as much media hype as you would in the East Coast taking over a team with that kind of talent, but he delivered in the end, and I can't wait for the book to come out eventually to just see what that was like to make that decision that changed everything for him. I mean, Kerr's an amazing story. It really is, from his family to his playing career to, hitting a game-winning shot on a Michael Jordan team for a championship, and now in his first year as a head coach winning one. Just remarkable.
It is remarkable, and you were there to see it all. Marc Kestecher, ESPN Zone, Gilderland Zone as well, with Armen and Levack, 104.5 The Team. You heard him last night in the finals. You'll hear him doing the NBA draft a week from tomorrow right here on 104.5 The Team. Kesty, I know you slammed us in between flights and everything else. Thank you so much, man. Safe travels back, and we'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Great to be on with you guys.